transmission echoed across every communication channel in the solar system, unyielding and clear. The Galactic Coalition's ultimatum was simple: Earth must surrender and submit to their authority, or face total annihilation. In the sprawling command center beneath Earth's surface, where holographic displays flickered and military advisors whispered, Admiral Kayla Trask stood still, eyes fixed on the message. The air was thick with tension, but she felt no fear, only resolve. "We've been preparing for this for decades," she said quietly, turning to the room full of strategists and leaders. "They expect capitulation. They don't know what we've become." For centuries, the Galactic Coalition had dominated the known galaxy. Their fleets were massive, their technology advanced, and their influence absolute. Earth, in their eyes, was a minor, backwards world and easy target. But Earth was no longer the planet of old legends and naive explorers. Beneath the surface, humanity had built something secret, a fleet forged from the harshest lessons learned in conflict and survival. A fleet that did not shine brightly like the Coalition's polished armada, but moved in shadows, silent, swift, and deadly. The Obsidian Legion. This was the name whispered only in the most secure halls. The Legion was humanity's answer to the inevitable force built not for show, but for survival at any cost. Outside the command center, cities continued their daily rhythms, unaware of the looming storm. Citizens lived with the hope of peace, oblivious to the war preparing in their name. Governments worldwide had united under a single banner, pooling resources and knowledge to strengthen the hidden fleet. Scientists had pushed the boundaries of physics. Engineers had crafted ships with cloaking and weaponry that defied conventional understanding. And soldiers had trained in combat tactics forged in Earth's toughest conflicts. The Coalition's envoy, a towering figure clad in sleek armor, stood on the giant view screen, delivering the final demand with cold certainty. "Surrender, Earth. Your resistance is futile. Submit to our rule and ensure the survival of your people." Kayla's jaw tightened. "We will not surrender," she replied firmly. Her words sent a ripple through the command center. This was the moment of truth. The Council of Earth's leaders convened immediately after the message, weighing the options. Some feared the might of the Coalition, urging caution and negotiation. But the majority knew the truth. Surrender meant subjugation and the end of freedom. "We've waited long to hide in shadows," said President Armin Liao during the meeting. "If they think Earth will fall quietly, they underestimate us. They don't understand the price we've paid, or the darkness we've embraced to protect ourselves." The decision was unanimous. Earth would not bow. As night fell across the globe, a hidden command ship cloaked in the asteroid belt began to hum to life. Its sleek black hull reflected no light. Inside, Captain Mira Patel reviewed the mission briefing with her crew, some of the toughest veterans Earth had to offer. They were silent, focused, ready. "Obsidian Legion is more than a fleet," Mira said. "It's our declaration that Earth will never surrender. Today, we show the galaxy what it means to cross humanity, across the solar system." Hidden shipyards accelerated their final preparations. Missiles capable of piercing the toughest shields were armed. Stealth fighters stood ready to deploy, advanced AI systems synchronized for battle. Every element of the Obsidian Legion awaited the order to unleash. Back on Earth, families watched the stars without knowing their future. The sky was calm, but beneath the calm was a pulse, a heartbeat of steel and fire ready to defend home. Kayla returned to her command console. The red alert light blinked once, then twice. The moment had come. She gave the order. The Obsidian Legion stirred from the shadows. The galaxy was about to learn a terrifying truth. Earth was not the helpless planet they expected. It was a force of darkness, ruthlessness, and unyielding will, ready to fight not just for survival, but for supremacy. Deep within the cold darkness of the asteroid belt, far beyond the eyes of prying sensors, the Obsidian Legion stirred. The fleet's black-hulled warships, coated with advanced stealth technology that rendered them nearly invisible against the void, began to awaken from years of patient silence. Captain Mira Patel stood on the bridge of the Nightfall, the flagship of the Legion. Her gaze was steady and unyielding as she surveyed the holographic battle maps projected before her. The fleet's formation was tight, designed for swift strikes and rapid retreats. Each ship, crewed by the most seasoned veterans from Earth's toughest conflicts, moved with practiced precision. "Mira, all units report ready," her tactical officer announced. Eyes flicking over the data streams, stealth fields are operational, weapon systems calibrated, and AI protocols synchronized. Patel nodded. "Good. We move as one." Our advantage lies not in overwhelming numbers, but in precision and unpredictability. The Coalition thinks they know us, but they don't. For years, Earth's military had operated in the shadows, refining technologies and tactics that blurred the line between offense and defense. The Obsidian Legion was born from the harshest lessons of humanity's past conflicts, where survival demanded ruthlessness and cunning. This fleet was not meant to be a shining symbol of power, but a silent predator, a force that struck fear into the hearts of its enemies long before battle was joined. The Coalition's mighty armada was confident, their fleets large and imposing. Their technology advanced, but their arrogance blinded them. They believed Earth would submit without resistance, that the planet's defenses were weak and uncoordinated. They were about to be proven wrong. As the Obsidian Legion slipped through space, cloaked in invisibility, they passed unnoticed by the Coalition's early warning systems. The galaxy's largest fleet, stretched thin by years of expansion and internal conflict, was vulnerable to a surprise strike. Back on Earth, Admiral Kayla Trask monitored the fleet's movement. From the command center, her expression was calm, but her mind raced through every possible scenario. This is our chance to redefine humanity's place in the galaxy, she told her officers. Failure is not an option. In the Coalition's capital ship, Commander Vorik studied the incoming data with growing unease. Their fleet is nowhere to be found, he reported. It's as if they vanished. The Coalition's tactical team scrambled to locate the mysterious fleet, but every sensor sweep came up empty. The Obsidian Legions had mastered the art of shadow warfare, operating where others could not detect. Then, without warning, the silence shattered. A flash of destruction erupted near the Coalition's forward line. The flagship of their vanguard was crippled by a precise volley of weapons lasers that cut through shields, missiles that disabled engines, and electronic warfare that blinded systems. The Coalition fleet reeled in confusion and fear. Captain Patel watched the enemy flagship explode on her displays, a grim satisfaction settling in her chest. This is only the beginning, she said. We hit fast, hard, and disappear before they can react. The Obsidian Legion launched a series of lightning raids, targeting supply convoys, communication relays, and strategic outposts. Each strike was surgical, designed not just to damage, but to disrupt the Coalition's command and control. Despite the overwhelming odds, Earth's forces fought with ruthless efficiency. Their tactics were unlike anything the galaxy had seen melding. Guerrilla warfare with cutting-edge technology and the unyielding will of humanity within hours. Reports of the Coalition's setbacks spread like wildfire. The arrogance of the dominant powers shattered under the weight of unexpected resistance. Political leaders scrambled to understand how a planet they considered primitive could wield such destructive power, but behind the scenes, Earth's leaders knew the true strength of their fleet was not just in technology, but in their people, veterans hardened by adversity, willing to face darkness and do what others would not. As the Obsidian Legion faded back into the shadows, ready to strike again, Admiral Trask addressed her crew. We are the storm they never saw coming. We fight for Earth, for our freedom, and for the future we will shape. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. Now, the Obsidian Legion was rising from the shadows, ready to change everything. The silence of space was shattered in an instant. The Coalition's flagship, the colossal Dominion's Wrath, a towering symbol of their power and control, sailed confidently near the edge of the asteroid belt. Its massive weapons arrays hummed with energy, ready to enforce the ultimatum laid upon Earth. The galaxy watched with bated breath, certain that Earth's surrender was imminent. But Earth's Obsidian Legion had other plans. Captain Mira Patel's voice was calm, but resolute, as she commanded from the bridge of the Nightfall. All units, initiate Phase 1. Target the flagship. Precision strikes only. Disable. Don't destroy, capture their command systems intact if possible. The fleet moved like shadows, silent and unseen, cloaked behind the veil of advanced stealth technology. The Legion's ships closed in with lethal intent. On board the Dominion's Wrath, Commander Vorik was busy coordinating fleet maneuvers, unaware that death crept so close. His confidence, once unshakable, flickered as sensor alarms screamed warnings of unidentified contacts. That vanished before detection. Then, without warning, a volley of energy beams sliced through the void, striking the flagship's shield generators. The Dominion's Wrath lurched as its defenses faltered. Missiles followed, locking onto critical systems with deadly precision. Chaos erupted on the command bridge. Alarms blared, Consoles flashed red, and crew members scrambled to contain the damage. "This is impossible," Vorik shouted, his voice strained. "How did they get this close undetected?" Below decks, engineers fought to keep the flagship operational, but the Obsidian Legion's attack was relentless. Electronic warfare units infiltrated the ship's networks, disabling weapons and communications. Captain Patel watched the battle unfold on her displays, a cold determination in her eyes. "Focus fire on their command center. We take out their leadership, and the fleet falls apart." As the flagship systems failed one by one, the Legion's boarding parties prepared for deployment. Elite soldiers trained for close quarters combat, ready to seize control of the ship, but before the boarding teams could engage, a massive explosion rocked the Dominion's Wrath. Its main reactor was breached. The flagship began to drift, crippled and vulnerable. Coalition ships nearby scrambled to aid their leader, but confusion and fear had set in. The nightfall and its escort vessels struck again, breaking the enemy formation and scattering the fleet. The Coalition's forces, long confident in their superiority, now faced chaos and retreat. In the command center on Earth, Admiral Kayla Trask allowed herself a rare moment of satisfaction. "The first strike is successful," she announced to the Council. "The galaxy underestimated us. That will not happen again." Across the Coalition, shockwaves rippled through political and military ranks. How could a planet they dismissed as primitive deliver such a devastating blow? Whispers of Earth's darkest fleet spread rapidly, transforming fear into panic. Commander Vorik, now aboard a retreating cruiser, seethed with anger and disbelief. "They fought with a ruthlessness I've never seen. This is not a simple rebellion. This is a calculated war." Back in the Nightfall, Captain Patel reviewed the battle reports. Losses had been minimal for the Legion, but the cost was already evident in the scars on her crew's faces. The exhaustion, the grim resolve to keep fighting. "This is the beginning," she told her officers. "They thought Earth would surrender without a fight. Instead, we've shown them the price of that assumption." As the Obsidian Legion faded once more into the shadows of space, the galaxy was left to reckon with a new reality. Earth was not a world to be conquered or ignored. It was a force capable of shattering expectations and redefining power. The Coalition's forces regrouped, desperate to understand how to counter this unexpected enemy. But Earth's darkest fleet was already planning its next move. The war for humanity's survival and dominance had truly begun. The Coalition's fleet limped away from the wreckage of the Dominion's Wrath, shaken but far from defeated. The galaxy was abuzz with rumors and speculation. How had Earth unleashed such a powerful, ruthless fleet from the shadows? How had they avoided detection? And what else lay hidden beneath the surface of this seemingly primitive world? But Earth's leaders knew that winning the opening battle was only the beginning. The true war would be fought not just in open space, but in the shadows, where stealth, sabotage, and psychological warfare would determine the outcome. Captain Mira Patel and her Obsidian Legion were the spearhead of this new kind of warfare. "We cannot afford to let the Coalition regroup," Patel told her officers aboard the Nightfall. "We must strike where it hurts most. Their supply lines, their communication networks, their leadership. We will become a ghost in their systems, dismantling them piece by piece." Deploying small, specialized teams of operatives known as the Night Ravens, the Legion launched covert missions deep into Coalition-controlled space. These operatives were masters of infiltration, sabotage, and electronic warfare. Their targets ranged from supply depots hidden on barren moons to communication satellites that linked the Coalition's scattered fleets. In one daring mission, a Night Raven team infiltrated a vital supply hub orbiting the gas giant Xeris Prime. Disguised as maintenance workers, they sabotaged fuel lines and weapon stores, crippling the Coalition's ability to resupply its frontline forces for weeks. When the Coalition scrambled to investigate, they found no trace of the intruders, only chaos and confusion elsewhere. The Obsidian Legion cyber warfare units launched waves of disinformation, hacking Coalition broadcasts to spread false orders, sow distrust among commanders, and even faked the deaths of key leaders. The Coalition's ranks began to fracture as suspicion and paranoia took hold. Back on Earth, Admiral Kayla Trask watched these moves unfold with grim satisfaction. "Our strength lies not just in firepower, but in the fear we instill," she said during a council briefing. "We fight with intelligence, precision, and patience." Not all on Earth's side embraced these tactics without reservation. Some council members worried about the moral cost of such shadow warfare. fearing it could erode the very principles humanity sought to defend. President Armin Liao addressed these concerns directly. "This war demands difficult choices," he said. "We fight not because we want to, but because we must. If we lose ourselves to fear and hesitation, we lose everything." The coalition responded with escalating brutality. Desperate to regain control, they launched retaliatory strikes against civilian centers on Earth, hoping to break the planet's resolve, but instead of cowing humanity. These attacks only fueled determination. Communities across Earth rallied together, strengthening defenses and supporting the war effort with renewed vigor. Scientists accelerated research into new defensive technologies. Engineers worked around the clock to repair damaged infrastructure, and soldiers trained harder than ever. Captain Patel's fleet continued its relentless campaign. The Obsidian Legion became a symbol not just of ruthlessness, but of unyielding resilience. They were the storm in the shadows that no enemy could predict or escape. One night, aboard the Nightfall, Patel stood on the observation deck, staring out into the star-studded void. "We are the darkness they fear," she murmured to herself. "But we fight for the light, for Earth, for humanity's future." The war in the shadows was far from over, but with every covert strike, every disrupted supply line, and every fractured enemy command, Earth's defenders edged closer to changing the galaxy forever. The ripple of Earth's defiance echoed far beyond its solar system, reaching ears that had long watched the galactic power struggle from the sidelines. The Obsidian Legion's devastating strikes and unyielding resolve shattered the Coalition's image of absolute dominance as Coalition forces reeled from unexpected losses. Whispers of a new power began to spread, one that did not play by the established rules, one willing to fight in the shadows and with ruthless determination. Many neutral systems, once indifferent or fearful of joining any side, began to reconsider. They had observed the Coalition's rigid hierarchy and the stagnation of their role, as well as Earth's fierce resilience. Some saw in humanity not just an opponent of the Coalition, but a potential ally force that could bring fresh strength and new hope to a galaxy craving change. On the distant planet of Zolaris, a delegation of influential leaders from various systems gathered in secret. Their chambers were lined with ancient star charts and advanced technology. Their voices low and urgent. "We cannot ignore what Earth has revealed," said Chancellor Vale of the Zolaris Council. "They have shown an unprecedented willingness to endure and strike back. Our people deserve a chance at freedom from the Coalition's control. Aligning with Earth could be the key." Across the void, Earth's diplomats were already hard at work. While the Obsidian Legion waged war, skilled negotiators reached out through encrypted channels, offering alliances and promising mutual defense. Earth's message was clear: survival and prosperity depended on unity, and humanity's strength was greater when shared. President Armin Liao spoke to his council with conviction. "This war is not ours alone. If we are to reshape the galaxy, we must build bridges, not just walls. Our darkest fleet is our shield, but our alliances will be our sword." Some of Earth's potential allies had long been oppressed under the Coalition's rule, their resources drained and voices silenced. Now, emboldened by Earth's defiance, they began to rise clandestinely at first, then with growing confidence. The Zolarians, known for their technological prowess and skilled engineers, pledged to share advanced weaponry and starship designs. The Mercantile Confederation of Voss, influential in trade routes across multiple systems, offered to disrupt Coalition supply lines through economic means and covert operations. Even former enemies of humanity, skeptical of Earth's intentions, recognized the value of partnership in the face of the Coalition's might. Yet forging these alliances was not without challenges. Distrust lingered. Centuries of conflict and cultural differences bred caution. Some leaders questioned humanity's ruthless tactics, fearing that embracing the Obsidian Legion's darkness might compromise their own values. To address these concerns, Earth's diplomats emphasized the necessity of pragmatism without sacrificing principles. They proposed councils where strategies and ethical boundaries could be openly discussed, ensuring that their coalition remained united and focused. Meanwhile, back in the battlefield shadows, Captain Mira Patel received new orders. The Obsidian Legion would support these burgeoning alliances by protecting key supply routes and launching targeted strikes to relieve pressure on allied systems under Coalition assault. During a covert operation near the Voss trade corridors, Legion fighters intercepted Coalition raiders attempting to disrupt vital shipments. With swift precision, they neutralized the threat, safeguarding the flow of resources critical to the fledgling alliance. As news of these victories spread, morale soared among the allied worlds. Earth's reputation transformed from that of a lone defiant planet to the heart of a growing movement, a beacon for those who sought freedom and change. However, President Liao and his advisors understood that alliance alone would not guarantee victory. The coalition would not surrender its empire without a fierce fight. To prepare, Earth invested heavily in joint training programs and shared technology development, forging a combined force capable of facing the galactic superpower. In the quiet moments between battles, Kayla Trask reflected on the shifting tides. "We've awakened a sleeping giant," she said, "but that giant is no longer alone." The galaxy was changing, bound together by necessity and hope. Earth and its new allies stood ready to face whatever darkness the coalition might unleash. Next thought, the coalition was far from defeated. If anything, the unexpected ferocity and cunning of Earth's Obsidian Legion had only intensified their resolve. For decades, they had ruled vast swaths of the galaxy with overwhelming force and unquestioned authority. To be challenged and to see their power questioned was intolerable. Commander Vorik, now promoted to lead the coalition's tactical response, convened his war council aboard the flagship Imperial Wrath. His voice was cold, resolute. "Earth and its allies have grown bold. We have underestimated them. This ends now." The coalition's plan was clear and brutal: to crush Earth's rebellion swiftly by severing its growing network of alliances, and by demonstrating once and for all that resistance was futile. Vorik ordered the mobilization of massive fleets, far larger than those previously deployed. Advanced weaponry, designed to counter the Obsidian Legion's stealth technology, was deployed. Intelligence operatives targeted allied systems with sabotage and misinformation campaigns, hoping to fracture the coalition from within. The first major strike came swiftly. Using new detection systems, coalition forces located and ambushed a critical Earth convoy carrying advanced weaponry and supplies to their allies. The attack was devastating. Ships were destroyed, and communications were disrupted. On board the Nightfall, Captain Mira Patel watched the data unfold, her expression unreadable. "They've adapted," she said, "but so have we." Earth's response was swift and strategic, rather than seeking to match the coalition ship for ship. The Obsidian Legion intensified their guerrilla tactics. Small, agile strike teams infiltrated enemy lines, sabotaging weapon factories and disrupting fleet coordination. One such mission took place in the asteroid fields near Tyrannis 4, where a Legion strike team led by Lieutenant Elaine Cross disabled the coalition's new sensor rays, rendering a fleet blind and vulnerable. Their swift withdrawal prevented a devastating counterattack, and their success sent a clear message: the Legion was far from broken. Meanwhile, on the diplomatic front, the coalition launched its own attempts to divide Earth's alliances. Envoys bearing false promises and veiled threats attempted to sway neutral and allied worlds, exploiting fears and doubts. President Armin Liao addressed these challenges with unwavering resolve. The coalition's desperation shows their weakness. "We will not be divided. Our strength lies in unity." He called for a summit of allied leaders, emphasizing transparency and cooperation. The summit was a tense but vital gathering, where concerns were aired and strategies refined. Yet the coalition's strikes took a toll. Resources were stretched thin, and the constant threat of attack kept civilian populations in a state of unease. On Earth, communities fortified their defenses, working tirelessly to protect their homes and loved ones. Admiral Kayla Trask met with military and civilian leaders, coordinating efforts to maintain morale and ensure resilience. "This is a test of endurance," she told them. "We must hold strong, not just for ourselves, but for all who look to us for hope." Back in space, the Obsidian Legion prepared for a decisive counterattack, using captured coalition intelligence. Captain Patel identified the location of a key enemy shipyard hidden in the shadows of the Veil Nebula. Destroying this facility would cripple the coalition's ability to rebuild its fleet. The mission was perilous. The shipyard was heavily defended by automated turrets, fighter squadrons, and electronic countermeasures. But failure was not an option. Under Patel's command, the Legion executed a daring assault. Fighters engaged enemy defenses in a fierce dogfight while boarding teams infiltrated the facility. The plant charges, the battle was fierce, and losses were incurred. But the shipyard was obliterated in a brilliant explosion that lit up the nebula. News of the victory boosted morale across Earth and its allies. The coalition's grip was loosening. But the war was far from over. Commander Vorik's frustration deepened as he surveyed the damage. "They are relentless," he muttered. "But this war is not finished." The galaxy held its breath as two powers clashed in a battle that would shape its future. The coalition struck back with fury, but Earth and its allies met every challenge. With courage and cunning, the struggle continued. Shadows dancing with light in a war where survival demanded more than strength, it demanded heart. The war had stretched across countless systems, countless battles, and countless lives. But somewhere deep in the vast expanse of space, the tide was beginning to turn. Captain Mira Patel stood on the bridge of the Nightfall, her gaze fixed on the holographic map of coalition-controlled sectors. Allied fleets had gained ground over the past months, and small victories had accumulated into something larger hope. "Intel suggests a major coalition fleet is assembling near the Arden Rift," Patel announced, addressing her officers. "If they consolidate, they could launch a devastating offensive against our supply lines. We can't allow that." Admiral Kayla Trask joined the command deck, her presence a calm anchor amid the tension. This battle could define the wars. Course, we strike first, and we strike hard. The plan was bold. Earth's combined allied fleets would launch a coordinated assault on the coalition's gathering forces before they could fully organize. It was a gamble, relying on speed, surprise, and impeccable coordination. As the fleets assembled, the galaxy held its breath. The stars bore silent witness to a clash not just of ships and weapons, but of wills. The coalition's flagship, the Imperial Wrath, led the armada. Commander Vorik, now battle-hardened and cunning, prepared for what he expected to be a decisive confrontation. The first salvo shattered the silence. Energy beams and missile barrages filled the void as both sides unleashed the fury of their arsenals. The battle was brutal and chaotic, with ships weaving between explosions and debris. The Obsidian Legion stealth fighters darted through enemy formations, targeting key vessels and disrupting communications. Captain Patel led the charge, her voice steady over the comms. "Focus on their command ships, cut their coordination, and watch for boarding teams." The Legion's boarding parties engaged in fierce combat aboard coalition vessels, fighting through corridors bathed in flashing red lights and alarms. Their determination and training turned the tide within the hulls as well as outside, amid the chaos. A daring move by Lieutenant Elaine Cross's squadron disabled the coalition's main weapon systems on the Imperial Wrath, forcing Vorik to retreat and reorganize. The victory was hard-won and costly. Ships were lost, brave souls sacrificed. But the coalition's fleet fractured and fled the battlefield. In the aftermath, Allied fleets regrouped, repairing and resupplying, while Earth's leaders assessed their next steps. "This is more than a battle won," Admiral Trask said during the debriefing. "It's a message to the galaxy. The coalition is not invincible." President Armin Liao addressed the United Forces, his voice ringing with conviction. "We fight for freedom, for peace, and for the right to determine our own future. Let today be the dawn of a new era." The news spread rapidly. Across allied systems and even neutral worlds, hope blossomed. Earth was no longer a distant rebel, but a beacon of strength and unity. Even some coalition leaders, disillusioned by the war's direction, began to question their allegiance. Rumors of defections and secret negotiations surfaced, signaling cracks within the once mighty empire. But the war was not over. Commander Vorik retreated to the coalition's core worlds, rallying forces for a desperate counterattack. "We will not yield," he vowed. "This war is ours to win or lose." Back on Earth, the Obsidian Legion prepared for what could be the final campaign. The cost of victory would be high, but so was the price of defeat. Captain Patel stood once more on the observation deck of the Nightfall, watching the stars stretch into infinity. "We have turned the tide," she whispered. "But the war will test us to our limits." As the galaxy held its breath, Earth and its allies braced for the conflict that would decide the fate of countless worlds and the future of humanity. The final campaign was underway. After months of relentless battle and sacrifice, the coalition's hold on the galaxy was unraveling. Yet, the looming confrontation near the heart of coalition space promised to be the most brutal and decisive of all. Captain Mira Patel stood with Admiral Kayla Trask and President Armin Liao in the war room aboard Earth's flagship Valiant Dawn. The holographic star map displayed coalition strongholds, supply routes, and fleet movements. Allied forces had converged, preparing to strike at the coalition's command center, a heavily fortified cluster of worlds known as the Iron Bastion. "Victory here will shatter the coalition's leadership and force a surrender," President Liao said solemnly. But we must be prepared for anything. The battle that followed was unlike any before. The Coalition, cornered and desperate, unleashed every weapon and tactic in their arsenal. Fleets clashed in swirling maelstroms of light and fire, while boarding teams fought fiercely to claim control of key vessels. Despite overwhelming odds, Earth's forces displayed unwavering courage and cunning. The Obsidian Legion's shadow tactics disrupted Coalition defenses, while Allied fleets struck critical blows to command and supply networks. On the bridge of the Nightfall, Captain Patel directed her forces with precision and calm. Keep pressure. On their main fleet, she commanded, deploy boarding teams to the command hubs. We in this now. As explosions rocked the star systems, Coalition leaders faced the collapse of their empire. Commander Vorik, once confident and unyielding, was cornered in the final bastion. Recognizing defeat, he surrendered, signaling the end of Coalition resistance. The galaxy held its breath as Earth's leaders initiated negotiations for peace and rebuilding. The scars of war ran deep, but so did the hope for a brighter future. President Liao addressed the galaxy, his voice broadcast to every world. Today marks the dawn of a new era, an era where freedom, cooperation, and respect for all species guide our path. The new Galactic Council was formed, with Earth playing a central role not as a ruler, but as a guardian of peace and unity. Former enemies became allies, and old wounds began to heal through dialogue and cooperation. Captain Patel and Admiral Trask looked out upon the stars. Knowing their journey had changed the galaxy forever, the darkness they had fought through gave way to light a future shaped not by conquest, but by shared hope. As Earth's fleets returned home, the lessons of war remained etched in memory. Strength and resilience had won the day, but compassion and unity would build the galaxy's tomorrow. The human spirit, tested and tempered in the crucible of war, had proven itself a force unlike any other ruthless when necessary, but ultimately, driven by the desire to protect and uplift. The galaxy would never forget the day Earth unleashed its might not just as warriors, but as harbingers of change. A new dawn had arrived.